Welcome back to the Broker Power Up podcast, the AIME podcast for strategy, stories, and insights to help you close more loans. I'm Tommy Golightly, joined by Jonathon and Haddad. How are you?
Good. Holiday season is approaching fast, and Tommy, we're watching it happen, man. You're seeing people let off the gas, and you know who you are. All right, I can't visibly always see you, but you know who you are. And today's episode is about not letting off the gas, my friend. So very excited for today.
No, it's been an interesting kind of balance of trying to take some time off to get my PTO down, but also make sure everything gets done because, priorities. And I also, it bugs me when things don't get done. So things are getting done even in December. And I don't know, I'm in a very excited mood and we're going to talk about it later. But there's a lot of stuff coming from AIM that's going to start in early 2026. And I just can't wait to see it actually happen because we've been planning and thinking about it for a while and it's going to be awesome.
Well, there's a lot on your plate, my friend. So Tommy and I will kind of dive deep at the end of it, and it's all about y'all, the brokers, the community, our processing team, our lenders, our vendors. Tommy's taken a big role here at the organization, so there's going to be a lot of things that we are putting in front of this community. We'll talk about it towards the end of the show.
Absolutely. Because we have a lot to get into today. We have the Broker Buzz where we're going to dive into the top posts of the week from the Brokers Are Best Facebook group and discuss what's trending and what's working and what you need to know. Then a sales pitch training where John's going to help us become better salespeople. And then we will wrap things up with story time from both of us about how, we're going to give back and you're going to learn more in different ways from AIM next year. But first, a fortune cookie. And my wife and I ordered Chinese last night. So this isn't from the usual bucket of fortune cookies. And I did check, and the first word was trust in there that I could read. So I was like, this is probably a good one. Trust usually ends in good conversation. So today's fortune, trust your luck for personal transformation.
Trust your luck for personal transformation. What do you think? I have actually a thought around this.
Yeah, it's the first thing that came to my head was the fake it till you make it. And I think we were talking about it yesterday or it was 2 days ago, about kind of that mentality that almost I feel like most people can get stuck in, is that imposter syndrome of just not truly believing that you are the expert that you say you are when you see yourself compared to other people that are so much more knowledgeable than you, but that doesn't make you any less of an expert, kind of a thing. Because you may think they know that much more, but they really don't. And there are areas where you know much more than they do. So I think it's just trusting yourself to transform into that person that you are working on being.
I like that. That's a really good approach to it, especially the imposter syndrome thing. Like I have a whole dialogue around that just because we've all been there. I mean, we all start somewhere. For me, that one is, I'm a big believer when it comes to speaking things into existence. And so in order for that to happen, you have to truly work on yourself. But luck has been in my favor because I just constantly talk about it since I was a kid. It's always been a thing for me. It's just nonstop talking about it. Here we go. This is what's going to look like. I'm a dreamer. Love visions, love like seeing what the future can look like. And some people give and take, right? They're, oh, live in the present, don't do that. Not for me. I love living in that direction. So I'm working on my own personal development right now, and I am letting luck kind of take it over. So that one hit me a little harder, where I'm really focusing on myself and just improving myself as a human being, working on my faith, working on my family, working on everything else in between, just to push myself forward. And luck has a little bit to do with that. And it's also the mindset that you give yourself, right? You really do have to. I talk to myself out loud. Like I need that. I don't like being alone with my thoughts for too long because, like I'm sure many of us, they get dark. And so for me, it's very important to focus on the words that come out of my mouth, the positivity, because it's not always positive. And that is what leads to that luck of personal change and personal development.
Absolutely love it. All right. You ready to dive into the broker buzz?
I'm ready.
All right. Our first question of the week. I have been helping a buyer with financing and they finally found their house. The seller's agent called me to verify they qualify, which is great. but then asked if I was local because she doesn't like accepting offers from people who don't have local finance. I am local, but it seems off. Has anyone ever else run into this? How have you handled it? I'm in South Carolina.
Well, first and foremost, don't say this to the agent right away because it's just going to lead you down a path of negativity. But to be very just direct here, the agent can never say they don't because it's the seller's responsibility to accept an offer or not. The agent has a job to put every offer in front of the sellers. Now, if the seller says, don't ever bring me an offer for, under this amount, then the agent can just say, no, hey, the seller isn't accepting it. But the agent can never, like, that's just so messed up that these agents think they know better. I hate that. I hate it. It drives me crazy, but you don't want to start the conversation with contention.
Right.
If in your case you happen to be local, so that works, and you might be asking, well, based on your question, well, what happens if I wasn't local? First thing I would ask is, hey, can you walk me through the experience that you had for you never to want to accept an offer that isn't local? First thing I want to ask is that's going to put the guard down and make them tell me why they don't like to accept offers that aren't local. So, for example, for me, I'm licensed in many states and I do business all across the country. I've had an agent tell me that before, and I diffused it very fast and very quickly based on my production, my numbers, my ability to go deep into detail, my background with self employment income, whatever it might be, especially in California where they grill you pretty hard. And they also do cross qualifications. That's another thing that I always deal with as well. But ask the question first. Hey, what has led you to not want to accept offers from people that are not local? And that'll start the dialogue and open up the conversation. Well, it just never works out. When you say never, if anybody ever uses absolute words,
Yeah.
never, always, it's very important you press on those words in a tactful way. So if the agent were to say something, because I've heard them say, these never work out. When you say never, can you tell me how many times they haven't worked out for you? Oh my gosh, I can't even tell you. Well, what about the last time that it happened? Can you tell me the last time that it happened? And what this does is it diffuses, but you have to get rid of your emotion. And that's actually, Tommy, it's crazy because my sales tip today is about that. It's about
That's
the
fun.
diffusing the emotion. And so as an LO, it's very important that you focus on that and pay attention to the words that they're saying. Absolute words truly mean something much deeper. And it's important for you to peel the layers back. Usually, an absolute word, what it means is they had one bad experience and then they just cast their judgment on that one bad experience and assume it's the same for all other situations that pop up that are outside of the scope of what they're generally used to. It's worked for me very well. Does it work every time? The answer is no, but it works the majority of the time. Call out tactfully. Do not raise your tone. Do not get your pitch higher. Do not make it lower. Just, oh, that's actually odd for me to hear because I do so much business in so many different markets that are not local to me. May I just ask? And then I go right into it. You felt my tone, you felt my presence, kind of disarming. I'm not being aggressive. I'm genuinely seeking to understand. So go in there, seek to understand, pay attention to the words, listen to absolute words, drill on the absolute words, and then pivot it back into your offer is what I always love to do. That is just what works for me. And I hope that answers your question.
Absolutely. And remember, only Sith deal in absolutes.
Mhm.
For our next question, a client's primary home is in a living trust,
Mhm.
and she's a trustee, but she doesn't have income. Her husband is self employed with plenty of business income, but he is not in the trust. Can the husband use his income to do a cash out on the property? Thanks.
So generally speaking, one, you got to make sure is the trust revocable, irrevocable. There's two big differences. Revocable is way easier because you can't close inside of the trust. So you have to close in the personal name first, right? And then you can move it into the trust. So as long as the wife is the one that's going to be on the loan, on the title, you can add her husband to that side of the mortgage for qualification purposes, and you don't have to meet the additional guidelines when it comes to cash out. But both of them have to continue to be on the loan. And then after it closes, it can be moved back into a trust. The only thing is, based on your state, it's very important you check with the attorneys at that point and the title companies to see what would happen if they're all moving it back into the trust, and now the husband may be needing to be included back into that trust. So check your state. The answer is yes, you can make this work. You would take it out of the trust prior to closing. Title would handle all of it. The lender would handle all of it. After it closes, they move it back into the trust, but find out irrevocable, revocable trust. That'll make a big difference. Both of them, they'll have to be on the loan. You don't need to meet those additional seasoning requirements.
Absolutely. And our final question of the week, HR 3206, the Protecting America's Property Rights Act. What's the deal, John?
So a couple people got triggered by this one, and people were pointing fingers and whatever the case may be. So here's what it is. The large title conglomerates, we won't mention names on here, but if you read my post, you'll see it. They went to Congress and they basically said, hey, we want to force title work to be done on every single transaction that's backed by the GSE. So literally every residential mortgage, they want to always have title on there, meaning you can never skip that line. They're also saying, well, you can never have alternatives. Title is one of the most expensive things out there for consumers, and it barely pays out if you look at the actual data from the title companies directly. So right now you're seeing companies do blockchain technology, attorney opinion letters. They're literally saying, nope, we're going to charge by state. You have to use the title company in that state. It has to be on every single loan. We're going to fight for it. And if you look at the actual data, they pay out less than 1%. Less than 1%. And if you look at hazard insurance is at 6%. And then to take it even deeper, if you look into the actual claims, they're paying out of the claim. So if it's let's just say, use easy numbers, $1,000 claim, they're paying only 3 to 6% of those $1,000 claims. So you're talking about minimal money. You're talking about $30 to $60 that they pay. And if you compare that to auto, to home insurance, hazard insurance, things like that, they pay out 70 to 80%. So on that same $1,000 potential issue, they're paying out $700 to $800. So there's a lot of context here. It is upsetting that they are trying to force this down everybody, especially on refinances. Why do I have to keep paying for the same title work on a home I've lived in for 30 years? Just see what's been added to county, see if there's anything there. It's all really easy to pull nowadays, especially with blockchain and technology. They're saying even on a refi, even if you've been in this home for 30 years of your life, we're still going to charge you. And for those that you guys in Florida, Texas, California, New York, y'all know how expensive, it's ridiculous on some of these loans. So all we're saying is, hey, what are you talking about? No, let's allow alternative options to make it more affordable for these homeowners. Affordability is continuing to go down right now when it comes to home ownership. So all these additional things are just more money, more money, more money, more money. And they're basically asking to force it down everybody's throat now. So that's what it is. It's pushing against it, saying, hey, let's allow let's allow alternatives. There's still room for title. We all know it's important. There is an important piece of title that needs to happen. But to say on every single deal it needs to happen, when the data shows 75% of the title work that comes back on all residential transactions have zero issues. 75%. 3 out of 4 homes that are financed don't have a single problem, but we're saying on every single deal, we want no alternatives. You must pay the premium. And each of the premiums are set on a state-by-state basis. So that's what we're pushing back against. We're just simply saying allow alternatives. Don't force this on every single loan, and give us the opportunity to use attorney opinion letters. But when there's billions and billions of dollars involved, unfortunately, people want to continue to grow their pockets. So that's what we're pushing against. That's why we posted about it. And that's going to be a big focus of AIME moving forward.
Absolutely. And if you would like to let your representatives know, we will include a link down in the description. Feel free to click that, check it out, see if you agree, and then please consider reaching out to your representative. It's just a couple buttons, quick form, and you're on your way. If you want your questions answered on the Broker Power Up podcast, it's easy. All you have to do is be an AIME member and be in the Brokers Are Best Facebook group, and then you use the hashtag Broker Power Up in your question. And if you don't, I'm just going to find the questions that I find the most interesting, and then we will have them answered here. So if you are not an AIME member, be sure to check out the ad, go to the link, click the scan the QR code, and we'll see you on the other side for some sales pitch training.
Are you a wholesale mortgage professional? Well, then the very first thing you need is a community to help you and your business grow. With AIME membership, your community is right here. Joining our community means never navigating the market alone or operating without a safety net ever again. We are 16,000 members strong of united wholesale professionals. From rookies to top-ranking originators, all dedicated to supporting each other's success so we can grow together. Beyond entry to the best community in the mortgage industry, AIME membership gives you the resources, tools, guidance, discounts, services, and support that help you and your wholesale business grow, thrive, and most importantly, close more loans. AIME membership connects you with leading wholesale lenders and vendors, offering you exclusive access, services, and discounts that save you more money while helping you make more money. Never get stuck on a loan again with our lender escalation program. Grow your network and skills with the wholesale industry's best conferences and networking events. Get the strategies and skills of top originators and industry innovators with AIME's cutting-edge wholesale mortgage education, resources, and content. AIME offers all of this and more, starting at a low price of $19.99 a month. You heard it here first, couple cups of Starbucks coffee. For you to learn more and get started, all you have to do is visit aimegroup.com, AIME group.com /membership. Your community is waiting.
And I'm waiting to become a better salesperson. John, what do you got?
All right. This is in light of what we were just talking about, okay? Taking out that emotion when it comes to the agent. So this is a 3-step process. Emotion out, execution in. Write that down. Emotion out, execution in, 3-step process. Let's set the scenario here. This happens all the time. You get shopped. You have the perfect loan for somebody. You think it's an opportunity. Contract comes in. You're very excited. You've been working with them now for several weeks. And then all of a sudden, after the contract's accepted, you send them the numbers and they don't e-sign right away. You're like, what's going on? You call them the next day and they say, hey, we're waiting on a quote from another lender. And we see these posts come in all the time. What do? I'm so annoyed. I'm so this, I'm so that. So that's the scenario. And I'm going to walk you through emotion out, execution in, 3-step process. First thing you need to do is name the emotion, then neutralize it right away. Write it down, say it out loud. So before you get back on that call with the consumer, ask yourself, do I feel rushed? Do I feel pressure to close this? Do I feel annoyed? Say it out loud and write it down. I promise you it goes such a far way. Once you call it out, now you understand what you're dealing with. And then from there, you got to start telling yourself, okay, how can I now remove this emotion from this call? Because it doesn't matter. Here's why. You're not paying these clients' bills. You don't need to like my answer right now. I don't care. But John, I worked with them for a month. I don't care. And I have not always been this way. Of course, I still get emotional. Of course, I still get upset when a client wants to shop after all the work that I've put in. But guess what? It doesn't matter. Nobody cares. So the first thing you need to do is neutralize it. Write down what you're feeling. Naming the emotion pulls it out of your limbic system. There's a science to this. So you want to start working with the science on here. Number 2, after you've neutralized it and you understand what emotion you're feeling, shift to the process, not the outcome. That's step 2. So now you're just going to go ahead and go, okay, I'm very annoyed right now. This is so frustrating. I've been working with this guy or gal for a month. All right. Okay, they're shopping me. All right, that's all right. That's all right. What outcome do I want from here? What's the process that I actually need to put together to get to the outcome? If you just focus on the outcome, the clients are going to feel it. The outcome is obviously, you want them to work with you. But now you got to exactly. And now you got to shift your focus to the actual process. So what I do next is, okay, what is my job here to do right now? My job is to showcase my value when I get back on the phone. My job is to ask great questions to uncover and provide more clarity into why they're going down this path. So you got to go in there telling yourself, I don't need this deal. You can't say to yourself, I need this deal. I need this deal. Oh no. Oh no, I was banking on this one. You're in commission sales. Understand this happens. The faster you learn to regulate your emotions, the better it is for you. Here's the next piece of it, right? Focus on your inputs. You cannot control what the client says. So you go into the phone call, you address you're annoyed, you get rid of the annoyance, and now we're walking through the process. Hey, Mr. or Mrs. Client, I hear that you want to shop. Is that the right case? Yeah, it is. Hey, one, I respect the fact that you took my phone call. Most people would just ghost. That shows me a lot about your character. Disarming right away with that. And that, by the way, that's true. If a client has the guts to also get on the phone and tell you and give you the chance to talk to them, there's something to say about that. That is a respectful client. Way better than someone just not hitting you up after you've spent a month with them.
Oh yeah, ghosting. Yeah.
Exactly. It's terrible. And then from there, you start asking the questions to uncover. What would need to change in your monthly payment for you to want to work and pick another lender? And I just pause and I just ask questions that way. Your tone is very important here, like we talked about on the other call. Let's listen to the difference. Well, why are you talking to this other lender? You don't think me and you working together? I picked up your calls on the weekends, though. Tommy, I called you on Sunday when you needed a pre-approval. That means nothing to you?
I picked up too, though. I spent my time on Sunday.
There you go. There you go. So get rid of confrontation. That doesn't mean you can't drop in the things you've done, but wait your time. Be dialed into this process. Listen to what the client says. And then after you've gone through everything, the last thing that you do is you debrief the facts, not the feelings. Well, I just want you to know, Mr. and Mrs. Client, it's kind of upsetting that who cares? They have bills to pay every month. You're not paying it for them.
Deal.
They're helping you pay your bills. Never forget that. So now, after I've gone through, I've asked the question, debrief the facts, not the feelings. Hey, I respect the decision of you wanting to shop this around, but it sounds like one of the most important things to you is just ensuring you get the best deal. May I teach you how to go through that process? What? You're going to teach me how to do that? Yes, and the reason I say that is, there's 5,000 lenders out there, correct? Is your intention to call all 5,000? Ha, 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 ha. The answer is always no.
No.
And then from there, I'm pivoting into what we've done. So look, this is one of the largest transactions of your entire life, if not the largest transaction. And at the end of the day, Tommy, I know I'm not the one that's paying your bills. You're the one that has to take care of your family. But here's what I will say. What you're going to find is I'm going to be very close. And if I'm off by a lot, do I have the opportunity to at least get back on the phone with you and address that conversation?
Sure. I
You're
mean,
always going to say yes.
Yeah, if it's an opportunity to even have a better deal, yeah.
Now, the next piece I'll tell you is if you don't find anything crazy, here's what sets me apart. If you remember, we were having conversations on Saturday, on Sundays. I was sending you houses left and right. I was pricing out payments for you. I was ensuring you got the right taxes. And at the end of the day, you really don't owe me anything. But here's the one thing, is this to me is not a transaction. This is a relationship, because the average consumer is refinancing every 4 to 7 years. And that's something I pride myself on, is not just today's opportunity, is the opportunities in the future. These people that you're calling because they haven't built the relationship that you and I have, they're just going to be looking at it from a transactional basis. And then every couple of years, another loan officer is going to call you and try and get you to refinance. What I've done for my clients is constantly reached out to them to always make sure they're in the best spot possible. It must feel good knowing that you're going to have somebody in your corner every step of the way to shoot a text towards and just ask the simple question of, hey, is it worth the refinance? That's the type of person I'm trying to be for you long-term, especially considering this is your largest financial transaction. So, Mr. or Mrs. Client, what is it going to take for me to get this opportunity to help move us forward? Now, Tommy, you tell me, how does that feel?
That feels a lot better. I mean, just when we were going back a little bit to the emotion that we're feeling, and we said annoyed. Like, if someone called me annoyed with me for trying to do what I thought was the best thing and shop around for the biggest financial decision of my life, I'd be pretty pissed off and just kind of write it off immediately and just not want to talk to them again. And so bottling that up and understanding that it's just that could terminate the relationship is just something to understand that you should never go into a phone call like that with a client.
Never.
Because it can just, like you said, you want to establish the relationship. That not only loses you the deal, but it loses you the relationship.
And that's the most important part. Y'all, and listen, I've had clients that work with somebody else, and then they come back to me for the refi. They send me referrals because they feel bad afterwards. That's just how this works. But again, y'all, emotion out, execution in, name the emotion, then neutralize it is step one. Shift to the process, not the outcome. Debrief the facts, not the feelings. And then pivot to give yourself an opportunity. Ask the questions to push the loan forward in your favor. That's how this works. That's what I love doing. And that is today's sales tip.
Awesome. Cool. Well, we still don't have a new Fuse ad. So this is that awkward conversation that John and I have between to fill the time that would be where the Fuse ad would be. So we're going to transition into not story time this week, but kind of story time. And we're going to be talking about a new email coming from AIME that you should be pretty excited about, coming from John.
Tom, if you want to give them like the context behind it and where this
Sure.
came from, because a lot of it came from the messaging from the community. So if you want to kind of walk through this.
Sure. So we're going to start a weekly email that you will be getting on Sundays, the Broker Boost, and it will be probably hitting your email around noon Eastern. And it's basically just going to be sales training, like the sales section here in the podcast, but directly into your inbox. John's going to be providing sales tips on a weekly basis. So we will be sending that out and including it on our socials and ways to sign up for that newsletter. And sales newsletter. It's it's another way we're going to be. People digest content in different ways, and we just want to provide multiple options for our members. So some people like video content, which is why we do the podcasts and videos that we do. But other people like to digest their content via reading and getting it sent to their email, so it's not lost and they can always go back to it. And it's like, oh, I don't have the time right now, but I'll mark it as unread and I'll go back and I will read and digest it when I have the appropriate time.
And that's why we want to do it on Sundays. So Sundays has been a day I've been using for planning now for almost a decade. So I think I'm about 8 years now, to be realistic with everybody, but it's just become a habit at this point. And so that's why we're going to send it on Sundays. They're going to come from me directly. They're going to be a sales tip, just how to drive your day, how to drive your week, how to deal with objections. Some of them are going to have actually a quick YouTube video link inside of them where you'll literally hear me go through an objection. And I'll walk through it. You'll hear my tone. You'll hear my voice. I'll go deeper into detail for those of you that are more visual when it comes to your learning style. But look out for it. It'll come from basically it'll look like it'll be my inbox directly that you're going to get it from. And it's all sales. It's all about you. It's all about growth. And it's all about taking your game to the next level. If you're not planning on Sundays, then you need to have a day to plan. And if you're not planning at all, I don't know what you're doing. I mean that from the bottom of my heart. You're in sales. You need a plan if you're in sales. You need a plan if you're in anything, but sales specifically. Deals that don't come from thin air. Now, you build your brand up. There's people out there. We got $100 million producers in this group. Yes, you build your brand up. Deals just start falling in your lap. That's fantastic. But many of us are not in that spot. And if that's you, pay attention, take a listen, and ask yourself, what am I doing to plan accordingly?
Absolutely. And digesting these emails is one of those ways that you can plan. I know my wife and I, we do a lot of our planning on Sundays. We get a lot of our things done and just prepping for the week to make our week easier. And that's something that allows us to do the professional level work that we do. My wife and I are both very busy during the work week. And so we use Saturday for fun, Friday night for fun, But Sunday is really all getting the house ready, meal prepping, groceries, visiting family, knocking out all the things that we have to do to make sure that we are set for a productive work week. So hopefully this hopefully this adds to your planning schedule. And let us know if there's anything else that you would like to see coming from AIME content-wise, because we are in the midst of planning, but already have a lot of great ideas coming, and prepare for a lot more social posts, prepare for a lot more emails, and prepare for a lot more videos. All good stuff to come. So anything else you'd like to talk on it, John?
That is it, my friends. Until next time.
Well, thank you for tuning into the Broker Power Up podcast. If you found today's tips helpful, do us a favor, hit the like button to let us know you enjoyed it, which helps even more people see this content. Subscribe to our YouTube channel, ring the bell to get notified every time we drop new content. Share this video with a fellow broker who could use a power up. Remember to lead by example, to lift each other up, and to grow together. And most importantly, close more loans. Until next time, keep powering up.